Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fight Night Rising. We have had a couple of spectacular games so far with a lot of new talent really showing what they're worth and showing that they have what it takes to compete and potentially be victorious. But still a couple more games to go, Boop. How are you enjoying them so far?
Oh, I've really liked the tail end of Galaxy so far. After the dreaded Darkstar patch from many a fortnight ago, everything's been pretty awesome recently. Like we've gotten to see Yi get beat and win, right? So we know what the
Yeah.
counter is. Apparently, it's Shaco 3 with the right items. But in the end, like, we still don't know if we're gonna get to that E3. It seems to be going pretty easily to a lot of our players, one person seeming to favor that Blademaster comp, over the rest of the lobby. But in the end, we're still seeing a vast array of ability. We're seeing a vast array of options and team comps, right? We saw Bober earlier having to make a choice between Rebel Brawler and playing that Yi, right?
Yep.
And having to be really intentional about that decision making. And I think that's been one of the most revealing things is sometimes when you see some of our newer players come through, you really start identifying those very small differences between like the Sphinxes and the Soxes out there versus some of the newer players in Fight Night Rising. And that intention of decision making is definitely showing up more often than not when it comes to the differences between those players.
Definitely, and it's even a little bit more of a difference if you're used to make those decisions on ladder, but coming into a tournament, any tournament environment, that can be a little nerve-wracking for players who aren't used to competing. Some of these newer players that could really, affect you in ways that you're not quite prepared for. So getting this experience and hopefully being more comfortable in that and making those correct decisions, over time will really help them out for the future. And as we are talking about earlier, going into set number 4, and I'm excited to see how these players will propel in that sort of transition.
It's so close, set number 4. It is going to be awesome. Of course, like we can wax poetic
Oh,
on it all day along with Warlord and stuff like that, but it's Manatee's Delight, everybody. Come one, come all.
yeah.
The buffet is free. As everyone is going to get a spatula. So for the only time ever outside of like way earlier on, Giant Spelt becomes a very nice item to have early on. Because in terms of value early game, that Protector Spat actually can provide value to literally anything with so many one-cost protectors. You can make something happen about it, or do you wait for a little while later to get that Infiltrator Aurelia, to get that Blademaster Zed?
Yeah, very interesting. It was kind of theory crafting last week on the cast about what options that you can go with these spats because it does make you be able to know that you're going to, potentially probably able to force a certain composition from when the game is loading in. You don't have to wait until like a Krugs or a carousel to be like, okay, I can now pivot into that. But you can go to this stage right now and be like, I want Blademaster Zed. I'm gonna go for that, or I want Protector, whatever Syndra, and be just going into that from this point, which changes the course of how you're gonna play the game immensely. So I'm really curious of what these players are going to do with that in mind.
Because there's also like this f- always around option with the spatula to
Yeah.
make your comp better right now. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so you can use it, and it's also really good for cybernetic comps if you just want someone to hold an item real quick, to make them better while you're kind of deciding what to use your spatula for. Probably going into Blade Master if you're using it with cybernetics. But for example, with Eren, like you either just ignore the spat completely here and go with like maybe we want a cloak for Ionic Spark, or maybe we want um gloves for a Last Whisper or a Hodge. But also, we could potentially pick up more Star Guardians a little later on, you know? So that's
Yeah.
the type of decision making that can be really tough because all of a sudden you can replace any unit in that team comp with a unit of your choice, right? No longer are you forced to play with a carry Syndra, right? You might also be able to have a carry Riven now, which is like old school Riven Star Guardian.
Yep. Put a lot of options there. See what players are going to choose in the near future here. Eren on 2-1. I believe Eren was the one who was win streaking for a while in the last game. Gonna have a couple of tiers units, be able to try to do that again. No synergies though, which is a little unfortunate. And not items that are really conducive to be like, okay, I'm slumming this and it's gonna be just always super, super good and have the unit that's going to be able to carry the items well right now. And you can kind of see Aaron pondering over this decision right now. Like, what do you slam for items? Is it a Shojin? Like, I mean, that's kind of locking me in something I might not want to go into. Maybe just puts a tier there and chills. And yeah, that will be the
Yeah.
case here going up
You
against
don't.
Garchompro.
I mean, basically, Aaron has to think to himself, as we already have a two Battlecast spats on the field. It looks like it could have been
Wow.
the same person, but I definitely saw two Battlecast spats. But the big thing here is I don't think Aaron expects to win this, so he's cool with losing a couple rounds, especially earlier on, to get carousel priority. Because that's the thing about the items he has is they're
Yep.
components of really good items, but they don't have their partners with them, right? He needs two gloves to get that kind of, i.e., Last Whisper going. If he wants, he's got the tier, so he's got Shiv if he wants to go the Kog'Maw way, but he still needs to complete those items. And the thing about set 3 that I hope we do move away from in set 4 is how item dependent these comps are.
Yep.
It's not as bad as it used to be, like, i.e., Last Whisper was what determined your comp
Hmm.
versus what champions you have. It's a little bit more balanced now, but moving forward, items are still really, really strong. So you're going to see a lot of players change their champions to fit items rather than vice versa.
Yeah, definitely. That is something that was also addressed in that set 3 learnings post. So I think that we will see more of that going to set 4. But for now, not going to be the case. As we see Aaron going up against BonAppleT, and that is a Battlecast Malphite there. It's healing up as time goes on, taking those or dealing 10 instances of damage. The Caitlyn snipe, though, will be able to take him out in the end.
Love it. Absolutely love the galls, the cojones of it all.
Oh man, at least there's okay, there's a couple of synergy potentials here for Aaron, either Rebels or Chronos. Going to choose to go the Rebel route though, favoring that Zed and the Yasuo in, and even choosing to sell the Master E, maybe in favor of making Econ here? Uh, hard to say. Or ooh, okay. Looking to go the route of Blade Masters. I think this is pretty committal in terms of that option here. Choosing to pre-level as well to level 5 and not choosing to make 10 econ.
Yeah, interesting that we choose the two Yasuos. They do proc the Rebel onto each other,
Mhm.
so they're totally cool with that. We have Protector Syndra. Oh man, that is set 3.5
Yeah.
intro. If I've ever seen one, man. Remember blue buff Protector Syndra from way earlier on in set 3.5? Like it was like years ago. It was only like a month and a half. But the or a couple months. But now, like these carousels become a little bit more important because now that you have an idea of where you want to go. For example, Aaron wants
Yep.
to, get
Blade
that bow, for
Masters.
example. Yeah. Like you want to get your item of choice here, especially knowing that everyone else has a spatula and everyone else could be going this direction too, because I think one of like the easiest things to think about is Blade Masters when it comes to spat, right? The top three are probably Protector Asol, Blade Masters, Blade Master Zed, and Infiltrator Irelia, right?
Yep. Yep. Would say so. Aaron having that RFC right now. No Master Yi yet though, but is level 5. Did pre-level to try to have a higher chance to get that Master Yi. Did hit a Fiora for the BM. Could even go a Fiora plus a Shen in right now over one of those Yasuos to fit 3 BMs in, or a Xayah, either way. Oh, maybe not though.
Who is going to
Oh yeah,
get that
there's the
spat?
BM spot.
Yeah, so the spat goes on to the Z as we are moving on over to Badas, and that is I'm glad to see him playing here because I think there was a DC last time
Yep.
around, and unfortunately, TFT has one of the there is no like tournament client, so we can't pause,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Not
So,
yet.
yeah, not yet. That's definitely coming. But the unfortunate thing is it's not here yet. So, but us just has to kind of eat the loss there. But
Ooh.
just like paulhnlee, though, you know, you can get eighth in one lobby and win the next, and
Very true.
maybe the top three. So we might be seeing that here as we're seeing some Star Guardians on Fight Night Rising. Star Guardians tend to be a very passed over comp. We don't really see a ton of Star Guardians.
No, we don't, but we sometimes see like a 3-star Guardian in there. I think we saw that in game number 1, but generally no one pushing that 6-star Guardian route. Badas here with Protector Syndra will have probably 4 Protectors into that late game, or at least mid game, finding the Nico to get another Star Guardian in there. Has RE2 already. So a pretty solid start. Just need some tiers really from here on out. Having that blue buff Syndra is going to be so important.
And it's required if you want this comp to work.
Yes, it is.
You're seeing it kind of work here, only because that Battlecast comp that we were seeing on the other side is quite weak within itself. Right now, committing to a Battlecast spat that early was a move.
Is bold.
Yeah, is bold, but you got to get to that Urgot as quickly as possible. Actually, no, you don't because you've got the spat. So we shall see. So
Yeah.
who benefits from that spat kind of like the most in terms of units in the game? Who are you trying to put that Battlecast spat on?
Battlecast spat do seem to see people put it on a Graves a decent amount of the time. Him in the front line just being a little bit more tanky to let your Kog'Maw do enough damage. Sometimes it will go on to a Gnar in the later stages of the game if you get it later with the same concept in mind, going to let them be a bit more tanky and just kind of provide time because that's one of the weaknesses I would say of that Battlecast composition, assuming you don't have like perfect 3-item Alawi at the tier 3.
Hmm. Definitely one of those high roll type of comps. You got to tier three those Battlecasts if you want any sort. I mean, even if you tier three 4 of the 6 Battlecasts, you still might not win that lobby
Yeah.
based off of how everything else is going. So no tier though for Badasi, and that is very unfortunate. So gonna need to get lucky on infiltrators. Is pretty far ahead in terms of HP right now. So we'll see how
Yeah.
far he's going to be able to go as paulhnlee is that 50?
Shaco.
Is that 66 HP at the end? Yeah, that's a lot of
Yep.
HP missing right now for our friend who's gotten 8th and 1st. So, wow, what a day. He's got to be tired. You know, you know what I mean? To just constantly be on like the polls like that. Jesus Christ, I'm tired thinking about that. I mean, that's a really great test for him as a player. Maybe we haven't gone through this type of experience yet in a competitive format, and the
Yeah.
greats are able to overcome. So we'll see if paulhnlee will be able to overcome, as there's going to be a lot of HP to make up here, as already close to 50 behind Badasi, who is in first place right now because of that protector spell on it. That Syndra is going to be able to get at least one more ult, maybe than usual. That's definitely helping him. But slowly but surely, as the damage comes a little bit quicker and burstier, these protectors might not be as strong. But I mean, it's protector Syndra, not really like a Syndra. It's like Syndra carry within a protector comp as opposed to like a Star Guardian comp right now.
Yeah, I think that's something that Badas really does have going as well is that Warmogs on the Nico. Nico is going to be super tanky. There is a Syndra on the other side there from Tommstar with 3 tiers, so that's where we see all the tiers going for this lobby, but it was still not enough to get through those protectors, and Badas is going back on that win streak. Unfortunately, didn't keep it during all of stage 2, but is trying to maintain that now
Ah,
as we
different
check
hat.
over. Yeah, missed that different hats every single game, every single game. This is one that we didn't even see last week either. How many hats does MrBobert
What is
have?
that? Is that a moose? Am I like animal blind or something?
I couldn't tell you offhand
Did I
either.
go to preschool? Is that I didn't actually. Um,
Me neither.
I still don't know my colors. But the no, that's awesome, man. I wonder what the hat budget is there. Not like I'd ever actually. I don't know. I don't know. I might rep that hat. I might rep that hat.
I want to see a
I'd like
MrBobert
to get
win
them.
just for the interview of
I
asking
know.
how many hats,
Where are
do
you
you
getting
own?
these hats from? Cybernetics though
Yeah.
for MrBobert
With a
or
Vayne
Bobbert.
2 already at 3-3, and, looking at the 7 win streak, it's like, "Oh, okay, Vayne 2, that makes perfect sense right now." Having Bramble on the Leona front line, it is only a Leona 1, but MrBobert's in a very, very good spot here, really only being contested by Badas, who's sharing the same amount of HP, both win streaking at 98 right now.
Oh man. I want that hat. Anyway, um, uh, it's actually really interesting to see how almost everybody have committed their spatulas already. No
Yeah,
one waiting until a little bit later. Everyone kind of committing to just the tried and true. We have a couple weird ones, so that is a little bit of a lie. We have the Protector Syndra, we have the Battlecast Malphite out there somewhere.
yeah, got a BMZ.
This Fiora holding on the spat just for the extra items that could turn
Yep,
into a Blademaster as well. Maybe going on to that Vayne. Extra auto attacks for Vayne can definitely help out in terms of tumbling, but could actually hurt her in the end as well. So, we where would you go here?
in terms of the spat choice for MrBobert?
Yeah.
I mean, you always are gonna want to see the, Infiltrator Irelia if you're going to be the strongest version of Cybers that you can be. Hopefully, MrBobert's gonna be able to, pick up enough item components to outfit both the Vayne and the Irelia. You can get away with only having 2 items in the Vayne, you don't really need the 3rd. Um, Blue buff is going to be put on the Lucian right now, so those are items that all still are gonna be good for, like, an Echo later on, are taking away from options of an Irelia. You could go blue buff on Irelia, but at that point, with the infil spat, it's going to lose a little bit of purpose and value there. But still strong
Hmm.
enough to take out Badas, actually. And that's the one matchup that I was unsure what way it would go. But it turns out that tier 2 Vayne is better than only that tier 1 Syndra.
Yeah, that tier 2 Vayne is shredding them. Remember, after that tumble, it's a flat AD buff, which is why you tend to see IE Last Whisper on her and not necessarily attack speed.
Yep.
You're probably going to get more damage just off of the 1 or 2 empowered auto attacks than maybe the 4 or 5 weaker general basic attacks. So that's why she's also good with just those 2 items. Doesn't
Yep.
really need anything more than that power wise. And the Lucian starting off with his Relentless Pursuit isn't necessarily a bad thing. That's going to be
Yeah.
actually a substantial amount of extra damage to start out a round. And that could be the maker breaking, the breaking point for some team comps is that little bit of extra damage. The extra 10 to 15
Yep.
damage might be the difference between living and dying.
Okay, that is a Battlecast Gnar on the side of BonAppleT there, so one of the units I was talking about earlier that would get some effectiveness off of that. I don't think it's going to be enough to win here. I say very hesitantly, it actually might be. And that brings
Oh,
me into a point that I was actually just about to bring up. I wanted to go over the fact of MrBobert's unwillingness to level up at this point. He would drop below 50 gold, but probably actually in hindsight definitely would have preserved the win streak there. Could have put even an Ezreal 1 in there, and it would have procced Lucian Blaster buff, and just Ezreal having the EMP in general would have win streak into this round, which would have overall made up the gold that you would lose for leveling up. So Mr.
mhm.
Robert playing a little bit too greedy there, in my opinion. But I don't think it's going to be the end all be all in terms of like punishing him for this game. Just a little thing to note there.
The Ash is in there for that sniper proc on that Vayne.
Yeah.
We got a Hodge, not the
Hmm.
worst item in the world. Vayne and Irelia can both use that if like they're kind of left to those devices. We do have the cloak. Definitely wants a bow on the next
Yep.
carousel. I don't know if you're going to be. I mean, if you're sitting in first place,
Yeah.
95, when fourth place to 64, the chances of you getting the item that you want are dependent on the rest of the lobby. So you can work on a lot of assumptions when it comes to TFT, right, based on how you manipulate RNG. But the assumption I'd work off of here is that I'm not getting my bow. So how do you? Is that something that you would say, or are you kind of like, I'm getting my bow on this carousel, I won't make decisions till after that?
No, no, you definitely want to keep in mind what could happen so that you can make the overall best decision for the whole course of the game here, and that has to take into account the possibility of not getting that bow. And you want to be asking yourself, if I don't get a bow, what do I do? Do I go for a sword for BM spat? Sure, that's pretty decent. Would I go for another, another spatula if that's an option for, a fawn? Yeah, that might be better. You'll kind of have to gauge and see based off of the route that MrBobert is willing to go. Those
Mhm.
easy rods, man.
Yeah, those little those I know wrong game, but they're Zerglings coming
A
up
little bit.
in yeah, and nipping at those toes, man. Doubles easy rot.
Ooh,
Tommstar might have been hearing me talk about the triples easy rot a little earlier. It was a Nico, so that could be the ticket to victory. Is we do have some tier 3 Battlecast units.
yeah.
It's
I wanna
very
go over and
interesting.
see that board,
It's
actually.
actually really interesting how these players commit to how they roll for their tier threes, right? You're probably going to wait till 50 HP, but at what level? We have seen some people rolling at 6. There are people who say rolling at 7 is like the biggest bait of all time, right? You want to roll at 6 or 8.
Yeah.
But if you're doing Battlecast, I mean, rolling at 6 isn't an awful idea. I mean, a lot of those units are just one cost units.
Yep.
So with the Kog'Maw, with the Alawi, uh, you're going to tier 3 those, no problem.
Oh, definitely. I think that BonAppleT, is in a good spot, but did lose that last round. I'm curious to where that loss came from, but I do actually wanna go over and look at BonAppleT to see the power spike at this point, getting that tier 3 Nocturne and that tier 3 Alawi, but, not having a red buff on the Cogmon. I think that is one thing that is going to hurt, a lot, to be honest, in terms of the effectiveness going into the late game.
You usually see the Kog'Maw have like a percent health kind of build to it with like a red buff and a giant slayer, two things that deal with percent damage along with a static shiv a lot of the time. If you're able to get like a frozen heart on your nocturne, then you can get like real true damage
Mhm.
shenanigans going on. But you gotta have those items. So the hurricane is going to be nice in terms of applying some of those debuffs, but again, not enough damage quick enough. Even the Vayne is out damaging that Kog'Maw in a sense of in terms of valued damage, right? Damage that is gonna end up mattering in the end, not that
Yeah.
damage to the tank, but actually taking down important
Mm.
units. The Kog'Maw has always had a hard time with that. As a protector Cassiopeia actually isn't a bad idea within itself. I think everyone has used their spatulas, but some of us
Ooh.
have a couple more to go through.
Yeah, you saw there, MrBobert, just watching all of the options that he wanted being taken in front of him while he's remained stuck helpless within that circle.
Let me out.
Yeah, but
No one is
first
letting.
place.
Is that a hippo? What is on his head? Like, like, is it like a dog? Is it a
I
moose?
Boop,
What?
it could be a lot of things. I've personally giving up tried to guess, but I admire your persistence here. I
I'm
really
sorry,
do.
man.
No, you're good.
It's how my brain works. It's like a shiny object, and it's like must find solution. That might be a reason why I'm a caster here, but also one of the
Maybe.
biggest detractors. As we're gonna go ahead and put our fifth cybernetic in the field. Gonna go ahead and wait a little while longer
Yeah, doesn't
for
have
our
6th one
sixth.
yet.
Yep, doesn't have the Echo
Or
or
the
the
Vi.
Vi. That's so funny. Vi clogs up my shop so much. You can have some of mine, Mr. Bobert. That was part of the reason why I was like, let me go Rebel Brawlers because I have 8 million Vi's I can use
Ooh,
right now. As again, the Vayne just only on one and a
yeah.
half items, doing some good work. The Ash, along with the Vayne, is pretty good. It allows the Vayne to get a couple more tumbles in And
Mm,
MrBobert doing a good job in terms of economy outside of that one mistake a little earlier. Does have a decision to make here whether he wants to sell those Caitlins or just one Caitlin to Econ. But we
yeah.
also have some interesting item choices here. We still want that bow so bad.
Yeah, I think we'll see if MrBobert is happy or not after the Arc Raptors next round is scouting around the likes of paulhnlee, moving that vein so she will not get jumped on by these infiltrators. So some good repositioning there. Hopefully Nar will be able to miss that vein as well for MrBobert's sake. But these
Okay.
battlecasts, yeah, they seem pretty solid so far. Of course,
All
again,
right.
yeah, not
All right, Alawi. Let's give him a little bit of a shot, okay? So the Trap Claw and the Ionic Spark there. Good stuff. And already the tier 3 units that you want to see. You want to see that tier 3 Alawi, you want to see that tier 3 Nocturne. Those are requirements. You don't find those, there's no front line for you.
yep,
Alawi has to do almost all of that heavy lifting herself, along with maybe another brawler.
yeah, in
But
the
we're
form of a
still
Gnar.
and
They
so
do
we
have that Gnar.
are along with Mr. Bobbert here, and all we want is a recurve bow. Mr.
I mean, you probably want a
Horvath.
couple more things, but at least you want a recurve.
That's our main thing. We're going to the store for the recurve bow. We might leave with some chocolate. Um, as
oh
well. No
no.
bow though. No bowl. Hodge is the next, I think, best option. Now we could get 2 Zephyrs, which actually in the late game against
Ooh,
Yeez and stuff like that could be beneficial. You usually don't want to make that item. You kind of want to get it on a carousel, but at least 1 Zephyr going on somebody. Oh, we're gonna go ahead and make some Celestials now. That
yeah.
should compensate a little bit more for the Veins, for the Lucians, as they're gonna get some life steal through all of their hard work.
Zero Zephyrs actually being the option here. Curious as to why that Warmogs went onto the Ezreal. Maybe it was going to make that a Zephyr and then decided, just kidding, I want an Ionic Spark. And then decided, okay, well, at this point, I have to commit that Warmogs there. But going up against Eren is MrBobert here. And Eren has that Master Yi, that triple attack speed item. And 2 Blademaster spatulas, one on the Zed and one on the Fizz. Eren dropping pretty low, but as we saw a couple of games ago, might still be okay. Might get first place with that strategy.
It's like those videos of
Oh man.
like almost disaster
Yeah.
or what is that? What there's like a subreddit of just like it's r/close calls, I think, right? I think
Mhm.
that Blade Masters is that, right? It's just like you skate so close to the edge of falling off the cliff, but once you lock it all in, you're good to go.
Yeah.
And Aaron sent at 25 HP, I believe was pretty low in the last round too, until we got that Master Yi 3, which helped him get his 2nd place.
Yeah.
Um,
paulhnlee, back to the Dark Stars.
Paulhnlee back to the Dark Stars, and back at on fire at 40 HP. That seems to be his favorite number so far.
Yeah, just about dropping that low before really solidifying, getting that Shaco too, being strong. Shaco needs to deal with the Vayne eventually, but I think the Jin still being alive too is going to lead into a round win there for paulhnlee and MrBobert. Like, these losses aren't by too many units, but it still is a 3-loss streak right now and barely is holding on to first place in this lobby.
Let's move over to our friend BonAppleT right now. Remember, friends, Efreef. You're not cool enough to know that joke, Khroen. But
Nope,
the
I'm not. Oh, the Kog'Maw 3.
see, I knew it. I had a
Wow.
feeling. Always, the thing. If anyone out there wants to get into casting, everything is on purpose, right? I knew that Kog'Maw was going to get tier 3 there, so that's why we're we're over here right now. It's some pretty good items on it. The Giant Slayer, along with the Runins, is definitely gonna help out. We do have the Graves to proc some of our other Blademaster procs, and I mean, once he ults, he's gonna rip through everything. But is he gonna be even able to get a lot of that damage on as the infiltrators surround him? I mean, it was a group hug around that Kog'Maw, my friends. You could have done a trust fall in there.
Yeah, you really could have, and no matter what direction, there would have been someone there. But BonAppleT, I think this is A little bit of positioning difference there, with the combo getting surrounded so easily, but also a red buff difference. If red buff was able to be spread out throughout all the team, it was able to be taking the whole time, maybe could have healed through it potentially, but no red buff, no win here for BonAppleT.
No red buff, no win for BonAppleT. Um,
Yeah, moving into the full item carousel here, seeing what players are picking up. Also, Eren has hit that tier 3 Master Yi, but is even lower than we saw before, 9 HP right
uh,
now. Tommstar and BonAppleT at 1 HP, both of them. I don't know if I've actually seen that ever, both two people being on 1, surprisingly enough. Maybe I've seen it, like,
mm.
rarely, though.
This is a much closer lobby than a lot of the other ones that we've had. There usually is some sort of separation, but as it goes for, I mean, the lobby in general, when it comes to, if you look at our scores, exclamation point scores, for those of you who want to see them in the chat, everyone has an opportunity here. This lobby is almost like a lobby reset in a bit, right?
Yeah.
It's this lobby will decide who has a shot going into the next one. So your placement in terms of Fight Night Rising, in terms of most important lobbies, I would say this one is potentially the most important one, and it happens to be the world of the manatee. And so you have a lot of randomness along with arguably the most important lobby we have. And it's very interesting that paulhnlee, for the second game in a row, choosing the Darkstar Ash. Maybe because we already had it, yes, the snipers are going to be doing some good amount of damage based on the hex rule as well. But I mean, he seems to really, really like putting that Darkstar on her.
Yeah, I think it scales pretty well when Ash is able to cast her ability after a few Dark Stars have died. She will do a lot of damage, even with just her base auto attacks afterwards. And wow, BonAppleT and Tommstar losing to the same amount of units there, so both jumping to -8 HP. So it's just RNG at that point, and BonAppleT gets a 7th over Tommstar getting that 8th.
I don't remember the last time that's happened. I don't think that's
Yeah.
ever happened on Fight Night Rising, like a legit tie. There's one more tiebreaker after. It's like whoever lost faster, I think, or something
uh,
like that. I think there's one more
I,
level before the RNG.
uh, perhaps there is. I think there's
Maybe.
only two, but yeah.
But yeah, Eren's gonna be at 9 health. paulhnlee is now finding himself on a top as MrBobert, or Bobbert. I like both. Hasn't won around in quite a bit, jumping from 90, I think 5 or 98 HP down to 30 HP. Like you said, he's not losing by a lot, but he's still losing consistently.
Did win
As
this
we
round
get
though.
very, very similar comps going on both sides. paulhnlee is able to take that dub. Just
Yeah,
didn't have the best
Eren,
timing.
wow,
Eren falls
crossing.
even with the Yi 3, so tell me about that. As we get a fully evolved Kane outside of a treasure planet round. That doesn't happen very often. But
I
the
mean, yeah.
double Runins. How you would have loved to be the Master Yi player right now with no items. But but how does that Yi find a top 2 finish in our first 2 lobbies, and then that same Yi get a 6th place in the
I
next? Is it just the nature of
uh,
the comp?
I mean, hard to say without seeing the matchup and how it went, because we were watching Paul and Lee, but a number of things could have happened. Could have been unlucky CC, could have been just a stronger comp. I'm not sure exactly offhand what everybody is going. Barrybadden's on a win streak. Yeah, I'm not sure who beat Eren, actually. I wasn't paying attention to when those results were popping up on the right-hand side. But after seeing some more of these comps, maybe we'll get some better insight as to that.
Yeah,
Probably
we'll
something to
make
do with Yi
sure.
getting CC'd though.
Yeah, it could have just even just been a Zigzult, right? Like hitting in the last place with some infiltrators in the back line, maybe. Is
Potentially.
Whoo!
Could've been this comp.
Yeah,
Could've been the
I was,
Yi survivors.
yeah, I was about to say. Oh my word! I mean, that is what it looks like when Ezreal is not wearing a Warmogs, and you've got your Echo, um, Echo 2. It is 6-1, but double frozen. I
Oh
think double
my.
frozen heart is just one of those item combinations that when you're able to do it, as we see the world's slowest Master Yi
Oh
take
man.
down another player, as Garchompro will finish in the top 4 based off of
Yeah.
1 HP, as Badas is going to fall. But yeah, earlier, I mean, just in 2 or 3 rounds, MrBobert's team just absolutely enhanced itself, right? It was like
Mhm.
CIA, enhance, and he solved the crime just by doing that. And it's going to be tough. I mean, double frozen heart on that Echo is
Oh yeah.
huge. It almost guarantees a second ultimate, especially since we have the blue buff on him too.
Yep, definitely. So starting off with so much mana, only needs to auto attack like once or twice max. No, it looks like once for sure. Boom, yeah, gets that ultimate off right there. That's so insane. Procs both trap claws, so does get stunned there. Ash is going to maintain that stun chain, but I mean that comp is just so insane though. Like, look at paulhnlee losing to so many units. It actually goes out in perhaps fourth here. We'll see if Garchompro is able to win and hold on. And
Yep.
yes, paulhnlee will be in fourth place because of that.
Wow. Lots of wows in the chat
Mhm.
right now. These items went from being not that great. Remember, there was a Warmogs on an Ezreal a little
Yeah.
while earlier to almost perfect. The one thing is that Last Whisper on the Vayne, but you don't even really need it. You have the IE. I think you actually have the IE Last Whisper on the Irelia, and so yeah. No, that's Ionic
Oh,
Scepter.
Ionic
Yeah,
IE.
Ionic, and so but still, like tons of value out of these items, particularly that outside of this round, that double frozen heart. Remember, it does expand where it's affected by one more hex around that circle. So when he does get himself in at this cubby, everyone should be affected by that frozen
Oh
heart.
yeah.
Not a lot of
This is a
attacks
game
need to go
over.
around, as this is game over for Garchomp. I'd be shocked if our yep, that's it.
Yeah.
As I think they both probably lose to his ghost. That is a top one for our hippo friend.
Who knows? Who knows? Either way, a top one though is that was a very impressive performance by MrBobert. We talked about utilizing HP as a resource, and MrBobert did that to maximum efficiency that game.
Hmm.
Was win streaking so hard during the early game, was okay with taking some losses to go level 9, roll down all that gold, find Echo 2, transfer the items over, and it just worked out, seemingly flawlessly in that end game there. That Echo, I would say, is probably the one that took out the Master Yi, jumping into the back line, literally slowing
Yeah.
all the Blade Masters and their attack
Oh,
speed there.
oh, I
That's
didn't even think
that feels
like
yeah,
I just thought of it as like an ult. You know what I mean? Oh, he probably just bursted him down with that ult, but no, the attack speed
both,
slows
yeah.
H2.
Both of those huge differences. As shortly, I want to take a look at the updated scores after game number 3 and see
Oh my
where
god.
things are standing right now. And what is this? This is the first time I think we've had 3 people tied for first place going into a game number 4. Boop, this is hype.
Oh my goodness. And paulhnlee could win too, right? This isn't like
Yeah,
a oh, only these 3 can win. All of them can technically win. Other than BonAppleT, he could tie. No, he could tie for second as like I think his best thing. But literally, I mean, it's gonna be about seeing MrBobert, seeing Barrybadden, seeing Eren, and who just finishes ahead of who on this last round. With Paulin being kind of the wild card, who needs to finish 2 points, 2 places ahead of any of those 3. So
yeah,
the rest are going to be fighting for a top 3. Like if Barrybadden and MrBobert finish, or Bobbert finish in 8th and 7th, and someone like Badasi could come through. Oh man, and that second, man, that round 2 for Badasi, that sucks. If he was able to be there, where he'd be right now,
yeah,
or where they'd be right now. And that's just, man, that sucks. But everyone else, though, I mean, this is hype. This doesn't really get any more hype than this outside of breaking a record. And this is probably a record within itself. I do not remember ever, and I've watched a lot of Fight Night Rising. You've been here for almost every single one, Khroen.
yeah.
And if this is the first time you're saying you're seeing it, this is probably the first time we're seeing it.
I'm pretty confident unless it's not like, month long, or I guess a couple months long where I wasn't there. But either way, game number 4 is going to be hype, and that score sheet really has told the story of tonight right there. Even with Eren, getting that first place in game number 1, but having a poor game 3 performance. On the opposite end of that, MrBobert had a poor game 1 performance, but had a really, really good game 3 performance, as we just saw. Who's going to have the best game 4 performance after, all is said and done after 3 games and going to the fourth? Barrybadden, Mr. Consistent, has gotten top 4 for every single game so far, with a fourth, and then a second. Barrybadden is honestly looking to be one of the favorites, at least in my mind,
Yeah.
unless either Eren or MrBobert or paulhnlee, any of them get like a really insane, first or eighth kind of play style, but it goes first in their favor.
Mhm.
Um,
Barry Badden, the young gun with the guns, my friends. We'll make sure
yeah,
to give you a little bit of Barry. Um, these names, I love it. Going into our next lobby, but like you said, I mean, three-way tie: Eren, Bobber, and Barrybadden all sitting at 20 points. Paul at 17. So like, man, poor Paul in that 8th place in that first lobby too.
Yeah.
Like this is one of those things. Like every lobby matters, right? In some fight nights, there's gonna be a little bit more leeway on both sides. If oh my
Oh,
god, and it's gonna
another
be another
run back.
spat
Let's
world.
go.
But I think this is the story here is that top 4. Can Paul play spoiler, or who will win between Eren, Bobber, and Barrybadden? Who you got, Khroen? This is a 3-way tie. Let's go ahead and make some predictions.
Ah, man, I was thinking about it and I was like, oh man, I don't want to make predictions, but I'll do it anyway. But I will preface it by saying if paulhnlee was even 1 point closer, I would actually like throw out the paulhnlee would win. Being 3 points away though, and 3 people tied at 20, oh man, it's just so hard to really predict paulhnlee is going to win over any of them. I'm going to throw out and say that Eren will go first. I think that if Eren tries to go another feast or famine, Master Yi playstyle there, that it'll work out this game. There's no basis for that. It's just a pure guess. Like honestly, it could be any of them.
It really can. And like you said, if Paul was a little bit closer, I'd probably make the same kind of prediction. But for this 4th lobby, I think the person finishing ahead of everyone else, I'm gonna be boring and say Eren too. I gotta go with this.
Okay.
I gotta go with the experience in this kind of situation. I would be hands sweaty, mom spaghetti right now. So I have this like really weird habit of when do you watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Crowan?
Like one episode, but not really.
Okay, so I used to have a habit like Sweet D where if I got nervous, I'd gag. And so like this would be like my worst fear, being on camera, right? That nervous, holding back, like all of the all of that in my head. Like I got to
Mhm.
give props to being able to put yourself out there like this. Like for me as a commentator, it's nice to be able to, help you guide through the action, blah 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 as we get some EU pride from Mr. Barrybadden.
Yeah.
And this is the type of stuff that I love. This is the type of stuff I love from our streamers. You get to make your mark every once in a while, and you gotta take your 5 minutes and hold it close.
That you do. Love seeing stuff like that, really, I don't know what I was gonna say, I kinda lost it, but just showing the humane side of people. We're all individuals here.
Yeah.
We're all repping and trying to perform while doing it. And Barrybadden has a couple of bows here. We've saw people run Blademasters so far. I think it must be at least on Barrybadden's mind right now, but we do know that Barrybadden does like to go that Jinx and those rebel blasters. I think we'll
Mhm.
probably see more of the same here from Barrybadden. Not a player that likes to really go outside of the comfort zone, which I mean, being able to be consistent for so long, like, can't really fault them.
Yeah, I mean, if there is a more consistent 3rd and 4th place comp than Rebel Brawlers, I would love to know what that is. Not in my hands, like I said before, but in these guys and gals, they're doing a really good job. So they're going to be able to drive a little bit better than me. I failed the parallel parking part of that exam, but yeah, Barry Batten. I mean, the thing about having 2 bows is you're not a TFT player if you don't see those 2 bows and go, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. 100% agree.
like no matter what, like you might have a totally different game plan, and you're like, oh, I hope to see 2 tiers, or I want to start with glove on the carousel, right? But then you see 2 bows, you're like, oh, well, okay, got to think about this. Like you have to.
Yeah. Definitely do. It crosses the mind. Me, I'm probably a bit biased because that is a composition that I enjoy running and enjoy going, but I am sure there are players who is the opposite and they pretty probably would detest going that play style. But either way, it's gonna cross your mind. And I think also something I want to bring up is a little bit of insight as to why I'm thinking out of anybody who is at the top half of the lobby in terms of points right now, why Eren would win is I think being on the specific galaxy of Manatee's Delight and everyone getting that spatula is going to be a lot easier to go that something like a Blademaster Z, which is a key factor in winning in winning a lobby. And we see Barry Badden already committing there to making a rebel spat. And no surprise there for Barrybadden. Gonna be trying to look for those rebels and Jinx.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pre-level. So that is just something that a lot of people will do at this particular time. If you got 4 gold, you don't really have anything to shop. You
Mhm.
want to buy, you can go ahead and invest in some XP. But this means though that you're gonna try to go for the win here. Like if you lose this next round, that's gonna really, really hurt your economy. You have to start win streaking, and that's exactly what Barrybadden is going to be able to accomplish here. Rebel Alawi isn't anything to scoff at. Remember, she does steal those defensive stats after she hits them with her ultimate. So that extra shield with a little bit of extra stat steal, I think, from that large rod. She's going to be a pretty beefy tank. Again, we probably want her
Yep.
to be at tier 3, as you probably would a Malphite at the end of the day anyway.
Yep. Be a bit better at that point. That Master Yi with the bow on carousel. Who's at the bottom of the lobby here? Garchomp and BonAppleT gets first dibs there, and BonAppleT will be the one taking that Master Yi. I really want to check out BonAppleT and see what they choose to do with that, whether it be keep it and go for that Blademaster route or just sell it for the bow. So I know Eren will be looking at that like, man, I want it. Why did I win streak? Why am I 100 HP right now?
Why am I so good? One of these days I'll be able to say that about myself. I can look in the mirror and be like, I hate you for being amazing. Um, I'll get there. Very bad and
I
no.
believe.
Thank you, Preach. I appreciate your support, Khroen. My ego is growing every day by being with you. Yeah, we're
Okay,
gonna
selling that.
let's slow down there. But BonAppleT is going to completely get rid of their board for could have actually tried to econ there, but there's no way you're going to win with 3 units at this point in
Yeah,
time. That
I
was an
mean,
idea to
I
be had.
think BonAppleT is like, I don't want to win. I just want to make some money right now, but was 1 gold away from making 40. Is that gonna what?
Do it.
Hovering?
Do it.
Uh, I'm
Do
s-
it.
I'm so confused. I'm confused why that's even a consideration, to be honest. But like, okay, I don't think this is gonna be a BonAppleT Zaya reroll.
It's
I
gotta be
would
for Irelia.
maybe I actually don't know. I'm kind of confused right now. It could just be a Dark Star transition. I think having Giant Slayer on the Jin is fine. Having a bow for RFC like Shaco or something. Don't have any swords for Shaco items so far, but do have that spat to go into a Dark Star spat, like we've seen paulhnlee do the past couple of games to some pretty decent success. So
Mhm.
we'll see soon where BonAppleT's direction's looking to go. On a full loss streak right now, so we'll be generating a lot of money. We'll be at least on 50 gold next turn, if not a little bit more. We'll be a little bit more either way. But yeah.
I wonder how much money Garchomp has, because I actually they've lost the exact same amount
Yeah.
of units, and I wonder if Garchomp has a similar economy. No, so they've actually used
Mm,
their economy very, very differently. I'm actually really happy that we got to see both there. So we've got one person who obviously rolled a lot of that economy, or maybe never econned at all,
yeah.
and kept to this lower level and is losing, versus someone who is econning with a lot more gold, who also lost, but probably has more of an opportunity to right that ship. Garchomp is going to be a lot
Yeah.
more limited in their options in the next 3 to 4 rounds than BonAppleT is going to be. So even though we have 2 more HP
Aw.
than our friend at the bottom, in terms of economy, BonAppleT is actually sitting in a pretty okay place. 68 HP is pretty low for Terror Bursters, but I'd rather have 68 HP and 50 gold than not, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Forehead.
definitely. Even going to level 5, but not winning any rounds. I mean, still loss streaking fully to get the extra econ is good for Garchompro, but you gotta be worried. Like, you have a Warmog's Jarvan, that's pretty solid. You had demo with a Rumble, and that's pretty solid for the early game, especially like stage 2, but still not be able to get any round wins. Like, that must be concerning a little bit. The rest of the lobby is just very, very strong, and strongest of them all seems to be Eren at another 100
Mhm.
100 HP win streak.
Yeah, that 5 tier 1 units on the board before we were able to level up that Jarvan, and anything at that point in
Oh,
time is going to feel good, as Eren has some Battlecast
I
going. We
like
got
this.
Ziggs with the Battlecast along with the Shiv and the Tier. Why are you liking this?
I already see 7 Alawies 4 Nocturnes, a full 100 HP win streak, a Ziggs 2 item carrying for that Kog'Maw, and a Graves 2 already. Even if you lose this round, if you're Eren, which maybe will lose, I'm not sure.
Ooh, that Shiv actually damaged.
Oh, okay, Yasuo
Yeah.
definitely still on target. You're still beating players who are level 5 right now as your Eren, level 4, 50 gold, econing out of your mind. This is such a good start if you're Eren. The only thing that I would be concerned for right now is, like, previous games, seeing Battlecast is not having that red buff. I think that needs to be the priority here, but once you're able to get that in the Lowy 3, get another tanky item on that, just even naturaling the units that you need right now, natural and not or Malphite and Lowy, and another Nocturne right
Oh,
there.
another one.
Yeah, rolling down,
Might as well.
another
Got the money.
Graves,
Yeah.
hitting almost every
Might as
turn,
well roll
gets a
one more
couple of
time.
brawlers in here.
Yeah.
There's the Kog'Maw.
Yeah, a Kog'Maw and a Malphite. Too many good options. Once again, for our friend Eren is yeah. I think that's intention.
Or
Everyone at
Battlecast.
home, that is intention. Gonna go ahead and put that Battlecast on the Malphite. Will most likely move over to a Gnar a little
Yeah,
bit later. But I mean, you got to see how good Shiv is on Battlecast units, with even just the Ziggs with the Battlecast spat.
yep.
A big reason why they were able to win because of that AoE damage. And when you are functioning with less HP because it's early game, that those zaps are going to feel real hard. As we're one Alawi away, we are 4 Malphites away, 3 Nocturnes away, but we're getting there. And that Malphite might not even be here for much longer. I mean, if you're able to 3-star it, the Gnar might be
Yeah.
able to wait a little while
What are
longer.
these rolls?
Jesus, and the battle and the Casses. What do you do here, Khroen? What do you do here?
I mean, I think you just don't pick up the Casio. You don't need it right now. You already have 4 Battlecast, so it's gonna be something you pick up later to go 6 Battlecast once you're able to get to level like 7 or 8 or so. But man, these rolls have been so good, and still on 100 HP. Like, when is Eren going to lose? It probably going to be soon. It's only a Kog'Maw 1 with 1 Shiv, but even still, it does a lot of damage with 4 Battlecast.
And the Dragon's Claw was a great call. I mean, particularly
Yeah.
against this specific team, against Bobbert
Oh.
there.
The
Oh,
Kog'Maw got
oh, the
saved from the
Cogma.
Demon Snipe, and now is actually, no, it's
The
doomed, it's doomed, it's
heal.
doomed, it's doomed.
Though there was a little bit of hope there, and Aaron's supposed to be losing right now. That's the thing.
Yes, yes,
So this is all kind of that goes to show that the rest of the lobby is either in a weak state or Aaron is just playing extremely well, which I think it might be a little bit of both. But the other thing that
exactly
I want to
agree.
mention is that Bobbert and Badden in second and third place.
Yep. Oh, man. Who are this okay, the 3 people who are tied in terms of points were Eren. Yeah, Barrybadden and MrBobert. All 3 of those players, as you just said, are at the
Mhm.
top of the lobby right now. Paulhnlee being one of the likely or only likely ones to be able to potentially compete with that, sitting at a pretty healthy number, 81 HP right now, but middle of the pack. I just want to look at these Eren roll downs because Eren just don't miss. Boom, another Nocturne right there. Has to sell a Malphite. At the end of the day, that's
Oh, Jesus. Why can't that ever happen to me, Crowan? I mean,
Eren, what are you paying Mort Dog?
I know the way this is going. It's like, okay, hey, we have some favors to write. You know that Jimmy Fallon thing where he like pretends to write thank you letters, right? Like that's exactly what's going on here. Aaron playing it cool too, because like this is the thing about success when it comes to situations like this. And I can kind of bring. I haven't talked about me being a music major yet, so this is the time. But a really interesting thing that happens when it comes to teaching students is like say you're teaching them piano and they're struggling really hard on something and then they get it right, they will make a mistake a lot of times on the very next thing because they're just like so excited, right? So when you find success, when you roll into 2 tier 3s and your tier 2 Kog'Maw on literally one pack, you got to keep that focus going, right? You can't kind of let it's not time to relax right now. There's still a lot more work to be done. As we are, man, this could not be going better for Eren right now. I mean, to have 2 tier 3 units at 3-6 is on the earlier side for sure.
Oh, yes, and being 97 HP and still on 50 gold, not having rolled down below 50. It's
Hasn't
just
needed to.
yeah, hasn't needed to. You talked about that focus, and Eren definitely is maintaining that right now. And I'm trying to like, I guess I'm comparing it to like my mental state. Like if I was in that position competing, I'd be like, okay, yeah, keeping it cool. But me as a caster, I'm just like, holy moly, that was insane. Like
Right?
what has happened? And I get the liberty to be able to do that there. But Eren, again, keeping it cool, needs to, approach this game with a mindset of I need to place better than like three other people right now. This is
Mhm.
by no means a sealed deal, a locked
Oh
game.
god, the Gnar!
Even rolls an R naturally at level 6, on infiltrators. Like, what can't Eren hit? Eren just hits. Like, if you ever need to learn TFT and be like, how am I not hitting my units? How do I hit my units? Just watch Eren. Like,
Yeah.
the secret's right here.
He yeah, I mean, like, take this boy to Vegas, right? Like, this is
Mhm.
where you're playing craps or, like, you're playing roulette, and you're like, "Bet it all on black, might as well." Things are going so well right now, and Aaron could roll, he could level up twice, totally up to him, or he
Yeah.
could get the correct items, as well
Ooh,
for
okay.
his Kog'Maw. So we definitely have the Giant Slayer, for the Kog'Maw. The red buff is gonna have to wait, um
Yeah, that's something I was gonna bring up. No red buff is a worrying trend here for Eren. It's just I
Double
stress the
chin.
necessity of red buff, and
Oh,
I stress it for a reason. Not even going to wait for that red buff right now because you need to specifically both pick up a red buff component from Stage 4 Carousel and get the other one from Raptors. You're not really going to play for that option here if you're Aaron, I suppose. Honestly, you might need to with just how close this game is, but
oh,
I'm not gonna fault it for now. We could look back on it in the future, but look at it, how much this double shiv is doing, from Aaron TV or TTV here.
yeah. Let's see how much damage. That was a lot of damage,
Yeah,
from that Kog'Maw, and I like the the other thing about hitting those tier 1 units so quickly is part of the reason why you see Battlecast players wait to level is to tier 3 Alawi and Nocturne, alright, and even that Kog'Maw, but he could level to 7 here because he already did all that, right?
yep,
It's like he did
exactly.
he's the Hermione of the group. He did all the homework, in the future and just, used the turn, dial to come back to the past,
Ooh,
right, and compete with these guys. Like, he already did the work that he's supposed to be doing right now, so it's
yeah,
all a win more situation right now. There is a possibility that by, like, 5-1, Aaron's still sitting at 97 HP. The rest of the lobby will come back, like, that's going to happen, but how much damage is Aaron going to be able to do
mhm.
before it does? And that's the real question.
I mean, not as much as he, would have hoped with that Fizz and Zed jumping onto that Kog'Maw. Kog'Maw dies very quickly here. Is just the tanky Lowy gonna be able to finish off the rest of these units? And the answer is no. Aaron finding another loss there due to positioning. So
Mhm.
maybe was thinking a bit too much about what direction that he would go from here and not enough time into scouting. And I think that is what hurt right there. Is going to have 6 Battlecast right there, though, so we'll be even stronger. But again, no red buff is worrying. Checking out MrBobert's point of view right now, scouting around. Has he double Deathcap Syndra, but no tears? Man, we see like strong comps from people, just not the items they really, really need, though.
I mean, when no one else is building the correct items, right? Like, these are all workable items. This is gonna be, like, a really good, um, excuse me, litmus test for, Bobbert.
Yeah.
Um, that Nocturne tastes good, but other than that, you're gonna see Aaron push a ton of damage. But our top 4, in terms of the lobby are our top 4 right now. So
Yeah.
when it comes to Eren, Badden, and Bobbert, whoever finishes in what order will be how they finish, right? So
Yep.
if they all finish in the top 3, it's whatever order they finish in. So for those of you at home, Paul needs to finish 2 to 3 spots higher than Barry, Eren, or Bobbert in order to sneak into the top 3 or even win. So there is a spoiler here for sure. Everyone else could there's technically not eliminated, but definitely have more of an uphill climb to go through. As we're going to, yeah, you're not going to get that tier, buddy. We're going to have to
Nope.
settle for some a cloak instead.
New hat, new game, new hat for Mr. Overt here. Once again. More of a, what was like jester style hat kinda going on here. But either way, going to be disappointed at the lack of tiers, getting that tier snatched away from the
Mhm.
last carousel. Something that I noticed when I was looking at the sideboard there was BonAppleT actually hit Jarvan 3 and Xayah 3, so it was a reroll Xayah composition in the end, and did win the last round, if not last couple of rounds. So curious to see if that's able to
Mhm.
keep up those wins.
First time today with that Xayah composition.
Hmm.
A lot of Dark Stars today. Dark Stars, BMs, some Rebels. Yeah, I mean, still a good smattering, a smorgasbord if you're a
Yeah.
Charlotte's Web fan, to show off kind of like the tail end of Galaxies. Like honestly, if I'm a game dev, I'm stoked with how this set ended, especially with how tumultuous the like middle part of 3.5 was. Right, like
Yeah.
this is a little bit, and with that dev post too, like they crushed it in terms of where they wanted to be outside of spectator mode, right? I think this is where you want to be in terms of a meta, this kind of variability. And I think they learned a lot of great things to move in the set forward, which is going to be the competitive set. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I am very excited for the future, but we're in the present and we have Lee really, really trying to play that spoiler right now. Is Bobbert having a really hard time deciding exactly which way to go? Has 5 protectors right now, can get a 6th protector. That might be where he is going with that ASOL. So we're going to try to hit that ASOL, or we're going to level up here soon. But you got to get there as you're going to be hemorrhaging HP. But remember last time we saw him in this position, he ended up winning the lobby, I think. So
Yeah.
with that double Frozen Heart Echo. So things can
I think
change in just a couple rounds.
the difference, the major difference between those two games, though, is that MrBobert here is still on level 7 and not going a sort of fast 9 composition or anything like that. There is a much greater struggle right now. And, hopefully MrBobert is able to, level up, get that protector spat going, put that Rakan in for a 6 protector, and have that propel into some wins. But even then, how long can you hold on without going to 9 and having a chance of winning this lobby? I think MrBobert's chances of victory for tonight are growing slimmer and slimmer, and the chances of, say, Eren or maybe even Barrybadden are going up with that as well.
Or Paulhnlee, who is
Potentially,
doing
yeah.
exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Is Barry now at 47 HP? Eren developing, like this is what we were talking about. How he was able to skip like the hard part of the test, right? Like he's supposed to lose HP while he's trying to find tier 3 Alawi, right? But
Yeah.
again, since he found it, right, he is 30 HP ahead of anyone else right now.
Mhm.
That's 2.5, 3 fights of just safety net. And so Eren definitely looking very, very strong. Of course, the game did kind of gift him this scenario, but it doesn't mean he's unbeatable as he has lost a couple rounds
Ooh.
recently.
Man, positioning. Can't stress how important that is, especially against Fizzes when they jump on, say, a Jinx there, or Zeds when they jump on a Jinx there, which is what happened. Barry Badden's carry taken out, and at this point of the game, like look at these HP numbers. You have 44 HP second place BonAppleT to 23 HP last place. With Badas right now, both of them winning these rounds, but like placements really matter here. If you're not going for the first place, at the very least, to try to get top 3, get some of that prize pool, get invited back, like, you have to be scouting around and keeping aware of that if you're Barry Badden, and I don't think that we saw that in the last round.
Choosing to keep the Blitzcrank in the mix,
Yeah.
well, just ends up being a good idea.
Sells the Ziggs.
I mean, like the
Has
difference.
another Rebel Spat
Oh, he
potential.
sure does. So where is that
Mhm.
gonna? That's probably gonna be going to a another 5 cost unit. All of those items on Fizz can go on Echo.
Should Yeah.
So
Should make that roll spot right now. There's no reason really not to. I think I would actually change positioning a lot here if I was Barry Badden, but I'll go more into that after this round. Going up against Paulhnlee, though, Paulhnlee with with some cybers there. Lucian still with just an IE carry. Not going to be too great at round 5-2 though, and Paulhnlee taking some heavy losses there, jumping down to the bottom for the lobby.
mhm.
But going back to positioning, I think I would much rather put Jinx up one spot and actually make a full circle of rebels around her.
The elephant, I call that, like, what do elephants do, right, with their babies, right? They, like, put the babies in the middle and then, like, will face outwards in a
Yeah.
circle around, like, the predators. That's kinda how I view rebels. Jinx is the baby elephant, and until she gets excited, and then, she comes charging out. But, yeah, we're, gonna put it on Echo, and we are going to have a little bit of a circle around that Jinx big shields. A little bit of a reposition. That shouldn't be that big of a deal. We do have that nice percent health uh, situation with a Jinx who doesn't need to get excited this round, but will just in the
Yeah.
nick of time will face tank this Nika ult, and we're going to see Barrybadden win another one.
Yeah, I was gonna say that Jinx was taking so long to get excited there and get those resets, but ended up doing that in time. Unfortunately for Garchompro, has been eliminated. -4 HP there. Not the best night, but hopefully we'll see some improvements and see them in the future. Paulhnlee, though, potential spoiler player, is getting pretty low here, 7 HP,
Yeah, let's take a look at his POV, see if we can catch his last couple rounds.
potentially.
But
Last couple rounds,
the
maybe not.
potentially last couple, this might be just one more round, unfortunately, for,
Yeah, it
paulhnlee,
could be
who
either.
got wiped by Barrybadden's rebels. We are looking at some cybernetics and blasters. Whenever you're kind of splitting the difference, and this actually hurt paulhnlee in game in round one, even though we're all cybernetics, we did split the difference a little bit getting here, and that is part of the reason why we are having such a hard time. But we did find another
Mm.
spat for Fawn, that Force of Nature, so we do have 10 units, and if there's any way to come back, that is what you're
Ooh.
going to need it for. What do you
What do
man,
you
you need
do
both of
here?
them.
You have a
You
Nico, but you need both of them, and you wanna find an Echo too as well, and you also want okay, I was gonna say you also wanna find the Echo too, as well as have something that makes you stronger for this round, because you don't wanna die. Choosing to not take that Gen 2 though, and just take the Wukong 2, I think was the choice I would've made. We're going up against paulhnlee. Yeah, paulhnlee has that Zaya, but the Vi charging through to get that CC going. Vayne in the back just tearing through the composition, and that will be a round win for paulhnlee, taking out BonAppleT,
Ooh.
who now drops within potentially lethal range themselves.
Oh, but man,
But,
so much damage is, the I need a soundboard, man. I gotta like record those and just play them when I need. But no, paulhnlee staying alive, Badas is going to get eliminated. It makes that second round DC a little less hurtful. But still,
yeah,
pretty good night for Badas. I'd actually love to see them back and play all four
yeah.
lobbies, man. That sucks. But really, one of the biggest storylines here, though, is that Eren's still at 77 HP. Has 55 more HP than his next closest competitor, which means that Eren is one, absolutely crushing it right now, and two, there's really not much that seems to be able to compete because even paulhnlee's comp, even though cybernetic no tier threes there, a big Gnar ult to help out. This double static shiv is going to help stack that death blade. But if you're able to get to the Kog'Maw like paulhnlee is able to do, things are going to get a lot more complicated as the Echo isn't going to find that kill onto
Oh,
that Kog'Maw, but Vayne sure might be able to,
oh, wow. That
as Eren
was too
does
close.
fall. Basically, that's the difference between if Vayne tumbled there or not.
Yeah. Difference between a potential top four potentially getting invited back next week versus not for paulhnlee there. We have
Oh, and
Mr.
Bobber got
Bobert.
eliminated.
Yep. Mr. Bobert
No!
being taken out there.
We will never know what hat that third hat was. Um, but, that was Bobert, very, very fun to watch,
Yeah.
this entire time. Things that I think could have gone better, I think we both showed good intention and decision making, but also showed a lack of it, at times, and a little bit of greed. So, having a little bit more of a standard game plan for other game plans, right? Because something that I've noticed is a lot of times people will go in with, "All right, we're going to do this," and then say they do get those two bows, they they know they're supposed to move over the blade masters, but don't necessarily understand exactly how. Just like
Mhm.
paulhnlee with the chronos a little earlier, right?
Yeah.
That seems to be where we could definitely get a little bit better as we finally find our Urgot for Eren.
Yeah, already have 6 Battlecast though, so doesn't need the Urgot in specifically, and won't put the Urgot in yet. Maybe just having that on the bench so that Thresh will be able to pull it in. is one Graves away, but at level 9, like, you're gonna find that last Graves. Instead, you're having Thresh just pull in little Graves ones. Not gonna be the best.
Oh man, that just aggressive handshakes all around, I'm sure. As BonAppleT will fall.
Oh, and paulhnlee falls as well, but in 4th.
Oh, was that enough to overtake Bobbert? It could
Um,
have been because you get that extra point for
6
finishing in 4th, right?
versus 3. Yeah, 3 points getting for MrBobert this game,
They're gonna be
6 points for
tied.
paulhnlee. They're gonna be tied, so it'll go back to
Yeah,
down to tiebreakers of which player will get 3rd
we'll see.
place and be
We'll
invited
we'll
back, but
definitely find out
yeah.
for y'all here in just a second. But that does mean that Barrybadden and Eren, I believe, have secured their top twos.
Mhm.
They're feeling good. It's all about the win here. And again, this Battlecast comp is getting caught up on. You could see it happening with that vein. With now that we have more units to deal with, because again, the Battlecast comp usually doesn't have 9 units at this point. But
Yeah.
Eren played so well. Or I mean, I don't know how much playing the world gifting you everything you need does take place. But I mean, whatever karma he got is totally working right now. But have we waited too long to come up against this comp? Like we said before, it can do a lot of damage, but can take a lot of damage too. And right now, as you're seeing how quickly this has been so far for a lot of the lobby, as we're down to 3 people
Yeah.
remaining. Eren having an almost 70 HP advantage right now. It's going to be really a battle for second.
It very well probably would just be a battle for a second between Tommstar and Barrybadden here. I was trying to think of a world where, okay, maybe Barrybadden could come away with a victory here, and it actually still is possible. It just starts with, for sure, having to win this round, leveling up next turn, and putting in another solid unit. Have to go up against Eren's Ghost here. Is this Jinx going to be enough?
If there is a unit that I can depend on bringing me through this kind of composition, it's going to be that Jinx, but that Alawi is eating
Ooh.
up a lot of those rockets. Has there been enough damage?
Ooh.
Yes, does get the last hit on that Kog'Maw. Did Tommstar win? Yes, as Eren
Ooh.
will fall and lost almost 20 HP, 16 HP lost in that fight. We do have an IE.
Yeah, and full spat,
Um, yeah,
GA.
I think we do have a protector spat still in the game. Maybe not. Barrybadden. Looking at that, don't get baited into it if you don't need it. But we're gonna go ahead and take that Acel anyway.
Yeah, I think wait, what items were on okay, I was gonna say, was that a jewel gauntlet on the Aurelion Soul? But I don't think that it was. I think it was, yeah, Morello's Hand of Justice, but is going to be 1 Aurelion Soul closer to getting Aurelion Soul 2. Gonna be leveling up to level 9 now. Maybe throwing in a Janna? Needs an Ezreal for Ezreal too. Yeah, probably will just, throw in that Aurelion Soul there.
hmm We he absolutely needs something to make this comp stronger
Yep.
right now. Maybe not even against Eren, but more so against Tommstar, who beat Eren by 16 points. Even though we do have an Urgot 2 now for Eren, is that this is where that Battlecast comp starts to fall off. This hyper late game is not really a place that you see this cast comp survive. Just not enough upfront damage.
Uh,
The same problems as it has early on will continue through the late game unless you let the Kog'Maw destroy you.
and the Gnar
As
there too.
Yeah, as Eren is going to eliminate Barrybadden, securing his first place. Now it's going to be Tommstar. This is exactly what happened in our first lobby, I believe, between these two players, with Tommstar playing Mech and Eren playing Blademasters. But this time
Yep.
around, it's going to be Battlecast versus a Cybernetics. How things have changed, my friends. Mech Blademasters to start, and then to end with Cybernetic Battlecast. That's pretty crazy. That's awesome.
It is. I think it really speaks to, at least in my opinion, what makes this meta good. Of course, Eren having 54 HP right now is in such a good lead. Eren played this game very well, talking about how, the cards kind of fell onto Eren's lap, but also made correct decisions along the way as well. Chose to not tunnel on, rolling for that Graves 3, just started to push levels and maintain that win streak. Eren playing pretty well, The game is not over yet, however, as Tommstar is still beating Eren here. So Tommstar could earn a couple of extra points here, which could make the difference between Tommstar getting top 4 or not. I'm not actually sure based off of the scores just briefly looking at them, but potentially Tommstar playing for some stuff here.
Yeah, he finished ahead of paulhnlee. He finished ahead of Bobbert, so that is priority 1 and 2. As his dog, are we getting some unofficial help from this potentially real dog now? Off to the side, is what happening? Is the
Oh,
dog
maybe.
giving extra hints and clues? Jeweled Gauntlet for Tommstar. Didn't quite catch where the other Shelly is bringing us, but Jeweled Gauntlet, not a terrible grab, really. Well, I guess now that the Echo is already
Not
fulfilled.
yeah, not
Yeah,
great,
not
to be
great.
honest.
Where are we gonna put that? I guess we could put it on Wukong?
I don't even know. Vi. Boom.
Yo, Morello's Vi used to be a thing. All right,
Yeah, I
not
mean,
this
it wasn't
set.
bad, it wasn't bad.
Yeah. But yeah, the Jewel Gauntlet,
Needs
unfortunately.
Irelia too. Maybe it's going Irelia for the crit.
hmm
Yeah.
The crit's nice, and AP isn't awful on her
Yeah, no, AP scaling is
either.
fine.
All right, let's see if they're going to be able, if Eren's going to be able to take the victory this time around. It's the Echo that is the problem in the back line, and that means, and the Fizz really
Ooh.
isn't helping all that much right now, as Eren seems to have positioned correctly this time
Yeah.
around, and the Alawi was able to actually tank some of that damage. The Kog'Maw was bursted so quickly last time around, and when you're able to keep that Kog'Maw alive, you keep your victory alive, as Eren crosses his T's, dots his I's, and finishes today in first place.
Yep, see the little bit of celebration there from Eren. Clearly satisfied with the play there at the end, and I would be too if I was Eren. A really, really great performance there. And congratulations to Eren on the victory. You know, that's going to be 30 points there as well. I believe we'll pull up the score screen in just a second here. But Boop, that definitely did not disappoint, that game number 4.
No,
I
not
loved
at
it.
all. Yeah, me too. I mean, it's so many weird things. Like you asked me earlier, anything weird pop out? Yeah, double Rabadon Syndra. That was weird. We saw that, and that wasn't even the weirdest thing that we saw. I mean, the fact that Battlecast completely skipped its weak phase during that lobby is absolutely nuts. But really, we know who won, but who is going to finish out in our top 3? Here are the scores.
Yeah, some tiebreakers need to have been had here. And yes, Eren at first place, Barry in second, and it appears as though MrBobert has beaten paulhnlee with the tiebreaker there to get into third. So unfortunately, paulhnlee will not be returning for next week, but hopefully in the future. Man, these scores are so close between the top 4 here.
I mean, I definitely, man, that's insane. I don't remember the last time it was this close, but I hear that we've got Eren on the mic right now. Are you there, my friend?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Number one, I hate you for that Battlecast game. That could not have gone better. But two, congratulations, man.
Dude,
I only say that. I only say that just to like meme you a little bit because like you literally skipped the hardest part of Battlecast, playing Battlecast there.
Yeah, I actually don't know how to play that comp. I never play that comp on ladder. So the entire time I was like, I don't even know when to roll. When am I supposed to spike? And I kind of just like played what I hit.
Well, you don't need to roll if every time before you get to 50 gold, you're tier 3ing all of your units. You tier 3'd your Alawi, your Nocturne, and tier 2'd your Kog'Maw in one pack.
Yeah, it was nuts. Yeah,
Earlier.
that was the highest roll ever. It
Yeah,
was
so
nuts.
when you hit that where you're like, okay, I think I got this. Or or were you still like kind of focusing in on the rest of the lobby?
No, I was still pretty much focusing because I've ran Battlecast one time when it was like the most dominant reroll comp, and every time I would hit like that, I'd still bought 4, so I had no idea like at all how to play that comp. So I think I just really high rolled a lot of the matches. There's a lot of like one unit, one hit kind of scenarios, so I was able to save a lot of gold that entire game. So I really high rolled a bunch of like the matches.
I think I saw you at 76 was your peak gold at one point. Khroen, you got anything for our winner here?
Yeah, first of all, Aaron, congrats. The last game was nuts. You just were hitting every single turn, it seemed like, until you power spike there. But moving away from just that game number 4 where you won, you also won game number 1 as well. And you talked about you weren't comfortable with the Battlecast composition, but what comps were you coming in here today wanting to run?
So the one comp that I really wanted to run, I didn't get a chance to run, which is Angry Birds. I'm a really big fan of double static shift Zaya.
Mm.
And 6 BMs, 2 Celestials. But I'm really confident in playing Cybers, and I have the general understanding of Master Yi, and just watching like Sox play Yi at every tournament, just forcing it every time. Like I knew like going into the game that it was either first or an eighth. Depending if someone was to grief me or not. But I pretty much played every comp this tournament opened. Like no one else was contesting me, and I think that was like one of the biggest things that helped me win like a lot of my matches. Today was I was pretty much uncontested for most of my games.
Yeah, no, uncontested, and you played it very, very well. I guess another quick question here. As we end set number 3, have you had a chance to look into any of the set 4 stuff that's been revealed already?
I kind of did for a bit. Then I saw that big Galio thing, and I was like, okay, I'm not reading the rest of this until everything else comes out.
Our Supreme Overlord Galio, you are not one with the word. May I interest you in a pamphlet?
I mean, I was a one trick mech player like the beginning of set 3.
I remember.
But now it's like the most popular thing, and like everyone's just gonna run that Galio. I don't know, man. It's just nothing's really attractive to me right now for set 4.
Okay. All right, so yeah, I was gonna actually lead into the question of like how have you enjoyed set 3 overall and how you were, feeling about set 4, but set 4 is seemingly not a very appealing looking thing right now. But either way, congratulations, Eren, on your victory tonight. Boop, do you have any final questions?
Congratulations. I will forever know exactly how to play TFT because of that Battlecast game. Dude. That was insane. You should rewatch our reactions. Like when you opened that pack, we just stopped.
Yeah, I was
like, all right, okay.
It was nuts. It was nuts.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I know you've been around, the block a couple times when it comes to TFT. So this is a really awesome moment for us to share with you. Is there anything that you want to share with people who supported you on your stream, and anyone else that you want to speak to before you go? And please plug your social medias and stuff.
Yeah, so you can follow me on twitch.tv/Eren_TTV. Also on Twitter at AaronTTV as well. And a big shout outs to PvE, which is my sponsor kind of gaming team. They're on the come up right now, and I'm really excited for the things that they're about to do. And big shout outs to one of my coaches, DZNC, who tells me to force cybers every game because he's like the best cyber player I've ever met in my life. No cap.
All right.
And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where's your Twitch? Where's your Twitter?
Oh, my Twitter is Eren TTV.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much.
Yep. Congratulations again, and have a good night.
Right, appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for hosting.
Yeah, GG's.
Thank you. Oh man, those were some games, and I love actually, yeah, hearing the fact of having an up and coming sponsor. More support for the TFT and the professional scene makes me as a competitor, excited. Even as a caster, as anyone who has some love for TFT and competing, which we all do, which is why we're here right now. Definitely love to hear that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from Simply Wojtek a couple weeks ago playing with his mom in the background,
Yeah.
right, to hearing these sponsors coming through, there seems to be elevated interest because World's coming up. Like, this is going to be a really awesome time, I think. Once we get spectator mode, everything's going to be there, right? And set 4 is, I think, shaping up. I think we have to be careful with like Galaxies was this fantastical, wonderful, like so many different things. And it doesn't seem like our next set is going to be as fantastical in that sense. I think that's okay. And I'm actually really, really, really looking forward to it. But Eren's also a very strong player, and I see what they're going through. But we won't know until we actually see the set. And so far, I'm really, really, really excited. If this kind of play continues into the next set, when it's going to be a little bit more like you got the warlords, you've got the chosens as well, that are going to be either less flexible or more flexible. It'll speak to a certain kind of player. I'm excited to see who comes out of the woodwork, right? And who might fall. Just like in other games and different metas, those of the people who are at the top might not be able to stay there in the next set. So, and I wonder who might be there to fill up that vacuum. That's kind of the exciting thing.
Yeah, a lot of questions to ask. Unfortunately, we won't see set 4 for another few weeks. Next week we will still be on set 3, but I think all that is said and done for tonight. We had some great matches, and that will be about it for us. Boop, wonderful to have you back. I think our casting always love it. Always love casting with you.
Yeah, man,
And
good both ways.
yeah, we will see Eren along with Barrybadden and MrBobert, I believe it was, back here next week. And until
Mhm.
next time, take care, and we'll see you next time.